Hello everyone, Jason here from the Recreational Critics Podcast. Before we start this episode, we wanted to make a shout out to our first sponsor and new hosting service, Anchor. It is by far the easiest way to make and distribute a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it is free to use. This was a game changer. Every other service I was able to find had monthly fees and charges that made this dream more of an investment rather than something fun for me and James to begin. Second, it has creation tools that allow you to record, edit, and distribute your podcast straight from your mobile phone or computer. So much easier. All the way across from recording, to editing, to distribution. Lastly, it makes monetization of your podcast simple with no minimum listenership. Truly everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So be sure to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now on with this episode. Good morning. You are listening to the Recreational Critics Podcast, a weekly podcast featuring two very unqualified opinions on streaming service-centric films. This week we're going to get into Red Sea Diving Resort. I'm your host, Jason, with my co-host,
James.
Hey, James. How's it going, man?
Not too bad. How's it going?
Good. So before we get ahead, there's going to be a few things we'll talk about today. We're going to go through a weekly recap, some news, the movie, and some other stuff that we banter about. If you want to skip ahead, there are timestamps down in the description. What did you do this week?
Just the normal coronavirus stuff.
So nothing at all?
Pretty much.
Play phones in your game? Play games in your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done shit. I say I want to do shit. I've done some home construction. So you saw when you walked in, I tore down my kitchen.
Yeah.
Made it a lot bigger. So I got a bigger kitchen. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all that room for activities.
You have been busy.
Yeah. It was only one day of work.
I got some trees for my backyard. That was the highlight of my week.
I would love to do some landscaping right now, but we just had another freeze come in.
Yep.
And I don't even want to even bother.
Yeah. I was going to put the trees in the ground today, but got a little cold.
Yeah. Naomi was like, it's going to freeze again. I'm like, nah, it's fine. We're in our spring now.
2 days ago, it was 70.
Yeah.
Today, it was 30-something.
Mm-hmm.
And then
tomorrow's supposed to be pretty warm again,
4 or 5 days from now, it's going to be 80.
Yeah, so fuck this weather.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest is the worst. There's still no gym. I feel even weaker than I did last week. Like, I feel like I can't lift anything.
You can work out at home.
You told me that last week. I still need to look into that. How'd you get your... Sorry, no, your wife's doing Insanity.
Yeah, we're both doing Insanity.
How'd
I
she
hate
get
my life
that?
right now.
Is it on like Amazon or anything or Google?
So we already had it, but I have the digital ones as well.
Oh. I need to look into that. I need to do something. I just feel my belly's getting a little
I'll
big.
help you totally purchase it and by no way share it with you.
That's kind of fucked up. It's free right now anyway, so there's no need for me to purchase it.
It's true.
And then on top of that, like, you want to just help a buddy out?
I mean, I wouldn't want to admit to it.
That's fair. Also, as you can tell, because I have hair, my hair grew.
It's like the weekly shot.
I probably skipped a couple weeks in between, but I can't get a haircut because there's nowhere to get a haircut, and so my hair's just getting long, and I can't stand it.
You're looking douchier by the minute.
Yeah, and you know what? It fits.
And my hair does grow. There's just parts of my head that it doesn't grow on.
Right, so you can't tell some of the spots.
Right.
Yeah, your hair looks normal.
Thank you.
I don't know. None there to even tell. So this week we did cancel our tabletop RPG we mentioned last week.
We did.
A lot of internet problems going along with our group. Our one buddy couldn't get it. I spilled water in my router.
Turns out when everyone's on the internet at the same time, it's kind of a problem.
That's what I thought it was, but he was saying he was having those issues, like just dropping completely.
Yeah.
I'd never had it drop yet, other than when I spilled my water in my router, and nothing worked at that point.
The only problems I've been noticing is basically that everyone is DDoSing YouTube.
Is that what they're doing? Is DDoSing it?
I mean, that is what they're doing. It's not an intentional attack, but
right, inadvertently DDoSing. Yes. That fucking sucks. Last week we did talk about the Netflix April releases. One of them has come out now, I believe. Coffee and Kareem.
I'm excited.
It looks hilarious.
Yep. I think that should be next week's episode.
Okay. And you heard it here. Next week's episode. That was a gavel, but I don't have one, so I just use my hand. I do want to see that starring Ed Helms. He's the guy from The Office and The Hangover. I think he's funny, so I'm more than happy to see that. Last week, he talked about Top Gun. That movie was pushed into December.
I know.
That's so depressing.
Yes, it is.
It actually depresses me because the movie wasn't supposed to come out until June. So now it makes me feel like this thing is going to keep going. Or at least the movie industry is foreseeing this thing to keep going past June. So that fucking sucks because now I can't watch Top Gun. I can't watch other movies coming out in the next few months.
What do you think it's going to be like once all the restrictions are lifted?
The economy is going to have a boost.
Oh, man.
It's going to bump.
People are going to go wild.
Oh, yeah. So many parties, so many concerts, movie releases.
Yep.
People are going to take what they didn't like before. They've been taking it for granted.
Yes.
Because now they're like, oh, bowling, that sucks. And now they're sitting at home, hanging out with their family and their kids all day going,
Wishing they could go bowling.
wish I can go bowling right now and get away from my kids. Right? You know?
Maybe.
It's happening
Maybe they just want to
somewhere.
take their kids bowling.
Yeah. I've actually, with all this home construction, I've been having my daughter help me out a little bit. But there's times that she's just annoying the shit out of me. So I'm using a Sawzall, just like cutting down a wall. And she's behind me going, hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. I'm like, what? And she tell me something stupid. And I'm like, she's like, I'm watching Scooby-Doo. I know, I turned it on for you. I'm busy here.
Hey, man, she needs some attention.
I know, but after like 4 times of me doing that with a saw in my hand, I finally turned around and looked at her. I got the dad mode. And I was like, listen, if you're not bleeding, dying, or hurt, leave me alone. You see I'm busy right now. She went, okay, sorry. And she ran off all like cheerful. Like, got him. Dumbass. Like she's purposefully doing it. Like she knows like, oh, look, he can carry that heavy piece of wood over his head. Hey, Dad, I got something to tell you.
Maybe she is a troll.
Yeah, your kid.
She is your kid.
Yeah, she probably got it from me. You know anything about the Eternals movie?
I know nothing about it.
Do you know who the Eternals are?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm a comic book nerd, so I'll tell you. They're basically like godlike people who their main villain are the Celestials and the Deviants, so are like other gods.
Okay.
So the Eternals are like the beautiful people, and then the Deviants are like the ugly ones. I think Thanos was like a deviant.
Okay.
Like deviant born, I guess. And then you know what the Celestials are. You watch the Marvel movies, right?
I did.
All right, good. So they released who the villain was by accident. So as other companies do, they will release things not thinking they will have some ramifications in the future. So Funko Pops released their next toy line,
Okay.
in line for the new Eternals movie coming out, and they had the villain on there.
Who was it?
Crow. Do you know who Crow is?
I don't.
So he's a deviant, as I mentioned earlier. That's one of their big villains. He's just like a shapeshifter, if I remember right.
Power level of current Marvel villains. Where is he at?
I don't think he's that high up there. He's probably pretty high.
Like Red Skull?
Well, way stronger. So the deviants are all given super strength. So that's
Okay.
why like Thanos is super strong.
Right.
Because he's just a human, or like a humanoid, but he has this deviant gene. That's
Okay.
what made him big and purple and ugly and strong. So there's a picture of him.
Classy looking fellow.
Right, he looks like a villain. If I saw him, I'd pick him out as a villain right
The
away.
red helps.
The red really does it. His abilities are healing factor. He's immortal, superhuman, physical attributes, and shapeshifting. He's just a really strong asshole who's part of the deviants. So I'm interested to see how they do another space
Should be
movie.
another time heist, and they should just snap him too.
I wonder if they're gonna start going into these villains that were snapped and now are back, you know? And maybe their motive is like, think of what I can do now. Or maybe they weren't snapped. That's what I mean, sorry. They weren't snapped before. So now you only have half a universe to take over, or half a planet, or whatever.
Okay.
So maybe your idea of like world domination didn't seem that reasonable, and now half of the world is snapped. You're like, maybe I can do this now. This is a little bit more manageable.
Why do you think that they would go with superheroes that a lot of people don't know, and a villain that I would argue
Nobody knows.
nobody knows?
Have you ever watched Guardians of the Galaxy?
I have.
That's why.
Okay.
Because it works.
That's a fair.
Yeah, you
statement.
take a very obscure comic from the 70s and go, how do we turn this into a masterpiece?
All right.
And they do it.
Yeah, I got drug along to Guardians of the Galaxy, and now it's in my top 5 Marvel movies.
Right. Because Disney can do it. And not, sorry, I say Disney. This Disney could do it. Marvel Studios Disney, not
Yeah.
not Lucasfilms Disney and shit like that. Also rumored Disney might buy out Warner Brothers DC.
That's just wild to me.
Yeah. So if that rumor is true, they would own every comic book like
DC could just
movie
hire
rights.
good writers, and I would be okay with that. They don't necessarily have to sell their entire company.
They'll never hire good writers.
I just don't understand.
They even
They have
hired.
some of the best cartoons of all time.
They do. They hired Jeff Johns to be a consultant, but that was it. He didn't get any saying rights.
Wasn't Feige supposed to be doing?
No, Feige does all the Marvel stuff.
I know, but I thought there was somebody that came over from Marvel to do.
Joss Whedon.
Okay.
He was the director
You're
of
right.
the first 2 Avengers movies. Came over to do Justice League,
Yeah.
but he
you're right.
had to take over. And how do you take over a turd?
Yeah.
You just polish it, make it a shinier turd. Which I'm not even convinced he did that.
Yeah.
That's why there's like a whole like, you've probably seen an internet movement for the
So-
Snyder Cut.
I was reading about the Snyder Cut today. Apparently, he did a watch party. Did you read about this?
No,
Okay. So
I want to be part of that watch party.
He did a watch party. It was Batman versus Superman. Batman v Superman, rather.
Right.
And
For 8 minutes.
basically elaborated on how the dirt, spoilers for Batman v Superman, the dirt levitating off of Superman's coffin
Right.
had nothing to do with his eventual resurrection.
What
He
is
said
that?
he just wanted to inspire hope.
That's stupid.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
What are these people thinking, man?
It's artists who be like, you ever watch Family Guy at all? I know you don't like South
No.
Park. Okay. There's a dog in Family Guy, Brian,
I'm familiar.
and he wants to write a book. And so while he's thinking there about writing a book, he's like, I'm going to name this guy Norm. Because then people 100 years from now be like, he's just a normal guy. Because you know how people overread into
Yes.
things? I also think creatives oversell their creativity in a way. So, what's his name? Zack Snyder saying, "Oh, the dirt's levitating because it's supposed to inspire hope." Nah, you're over trying to be creative. Like you're trying too hard to be an artist and be different. That wasn't what you meant. You meant Superman's gonna come back to life. You knew
Yeah.
what all the little nerd fanboys in the crowd, myself included, were gonna be like when they saw that. I was
Yes.
thinking black suit and mullet. It didn't happen.
And let's make sure we do it 15 minutes after Superman sacrificed himself.
Right. That way his sacrifice goes in vain.
Yeah.
Because that means nothing.
And then we're going to do the same thing with Wonder Woman.
What did they do with her?
Botch it right before the end.
How did... Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. I'm
You
going to keep
talk about-
talking about this.
Are you talking about when she killed Ares and then the war stopped? But then right before that, they had that moment where they're like, hey, don't worry. Humanity's always this way. They're always going to start wars. It doesn't matter if I'm dead or alive or
Yep.
what. And then he dies and
Yeah,
then the war
sometimes
starts.
people are just bad. They do bad things.
Right. They had that whole message the entire movie.
Yep.
They really hit it on the nail at the very end.
And then self-sacrifice is a really cool moment.
Yep.
And then Ares shows up.
Yeah, and then he dies.
Yes.
And then the war ends.
Yeah. Remus Lupin shows up.
Yep. Harry. I hate those Harry Potter movies now. You really made me hate them.
It's not my fault. All I made you do was watch them.
Yeah. And then we just had to shit talk them the entire time.
Yep.
God, I wish we filmed ourselves watching those movies.
Just the disgust.
Yeah. You were so mad at me every time I see Maggie Smith come on screen. Old lazy eye Maggie is what I called her every time she came on screen.
You broke me. You broke me.
You didn't even realize she had a lazy eye up to that
No,
point.
it's Dame Maggie Smith. How dare you?
Old lazy eye dame. I got
Kevin. We talked about Kevin Feige a minute ago. Jason is kind of a bastard for everybody who's wondering.
yeah. I'll ruin anything you love.
Yeah.
If you try hard enough and you go, what, you don't like this, then I'll go into a whole troll mode and just ruin it for you.
That's pretty much what I did at work after The Last Jedi came out.
Yeah.
Everyone came back super hyped about it.
Yep.
And I basically had a thesis on it.
Yeah, your dissertation.
Yes.
And then you went and saw Rise of Skywalker. And you
And I was
came.
like, yep, I was right.
Oh, no, at first, me and you walked out that movie, you're like, I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't know. And then we both went home, and over the next few hours, we're like,
I hated it.
yeah, that wasn't that good. They tricked me. They
Yes.
fucking got me.
It wasn't like when Justice League tricked me.
Well, that's because you went in thinking it was going to be trash.
Yes, I had the lowest possible I did with Star Wars as well.
Right. You walked in
thing
thinking,
is,
here's $20, here's a lighter.
One of the very last scenes of Justice League, they're all standing on the rooftop, and I got sentimental for a minute.
Right.
Because that was such a big part of my childhood, was watching.
Minus Green Lantern.
Yes. Which is my favorite superhero.
Yeah.
But I was just so excited because they did that. Mm-hmm. And I was riding a high, and then it all came crashing down once I started to think about it.
Yeah, you texted me. You went, oh, man, I love that movie. And I was like, really? I didn't think you would like that movie at all.
And before I got home in the 20-minute drive, I texted you again, and I was like, never mind.
I take it back.
Yes.
Yeah, because I went and saw it like 5 days before you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were like, man, I love that. I'm like, what? Does Tina
texting me right
Does
now?
Tina have your phone? Who the hell? Yep. That's not the James I know.
Yep.
Who are you, you son of a bitch? You had some news earlier. Bill Withers died?
Yeah, Bill Withers.
Withers?
Yes, Bill Withers.
He withered away?
Too soon.
Whatever. I don't know who this guy is.
He's a singer.
Yeah, you showed me some of his music right before we started.
Ain't No Sunshine, Just the Two of Us.
Right.
Lean on Me. It's all Bill Withers. It was not coronavirus. Apparently it was heart condition.
Okay. I told you before this, Joe Diffie died, who's like a country singer. I also don't know who that guy is or care about him, but my girlfriend's family does a lot. And he died from coronavirus.
It's unfortunate.
Coronavirus got their first, probably not the first celebrity. It's got somebody else, I think.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to look it up.
I've got like news overload lately. I've been trying to steer clear of that part of the internet.
You keep going. Keep talking. I got to type. I can't do it both at the same time.
Give Bill Withers a listen if you don't know who he is. Hit him up on Spotify. Live at Carnegie Hall. Highly recommend it.
I know Tom Hanks and his wife got it, and if they die, I will riot.
No, they're already recovering.
Oh, Prince Charles got it?
Yep.
Don't know who that is. Don't know who. Rand Paul got it. I heard about that one. I thought it was ironic. Because he had just like voted down the relief aid or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he gets it. He probably went, I take it back.
To be fair, I have my own reasons for not caring for Rand Paul.
Right.
But he does that every time. It's nothing new.
Yeah, he's a very contrarian.
Yeah, if you don't make budget cuts to pay for the things, he doesn't vote for it.
Yeah. A lot of these celebrities and politicians on here, on this list I'm reading. Oh, that makes a lot more sense now. I look at the website I'm on. Makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of like Muslim names. I'm like, I don't know these people. It's on aljazeera.com. So that makes a lot of sense. Idris Elba, he tested positive for COVID-19.
Yep.
I'm kind of depressed to hear about that. I hope he's fine. And Andy Cohen. You know who he is?
I know the name.
Talk show host.
Okay.
He got it. Chris Cuomo. Oh, the CNN news anchor got it?
Yep.
I didn't know that. His brother's the mayor of New York City, isn't he?
He's the governor of New York.
Governor of New York, that's what it is. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's pretty terrible. And then aside from that, I know none of these names. 4 players of the Brooklyn Nets. So, yeah, I don't know any of these people. And I feel bad for not caring. I don't know who they are. I hope they're all fine. I hope they all get fine, I should say. If they haven't already. I am glad to hear Tom Hanks is good, though.
Yeah.
I was a little depressed when I heard he got it. I was like, I don't want you to be the one to go. I got nothing else on news. Do you got anything?
I don't either.
All right. So in that case, I guess we'll go right into our movie of the week, and that was Red Sea Diving Resort. We couldn't find a budget on this movie. I wanted this. You were ballparking 80 mil.
I think so.
I was gonna ballpark around 60.
Yeah, somewhere around the same as the movie we watched last week.
What did we watch? War Machine.
Yeah.
Yep. I like this movie better than War Machine.
Same for me. It was watchable for sure.
Right. It had nothing for me.
Yeah.
And it made no sense at some points.
I don't think any of the movies we've watched up to this point have made me feel anything.
Right. No. 6 Underground made you feel something.
Anger.
Yeah. That's a feeling.
At no point in the podcast so far have I felt like there's been any character development or like any attachment to characters. And it's kind of just made me numb to these movies.
Yeah, we gotta probably watch something we might like.
I'm really hoping that next week with
Coffee and Cream.
Yeah, Coffee and Cream.
I'm really looking forward to that movie.
I hope it's hilarious.
The little boy, I was like, who is that kid? And then I realized he's like a Disney star. And because my daughter watches a lot of that Disney shit,
Okay.
I see him. I was like, God, he looks so familiar. But he's one of the Disney shows my daughter used to watch.
All right.
So I know
I've
I
got high
recognized
hopes.
him from somewhere. What is the plot of this movie?
So Chris Evans, Captain America,
Yep.
is an Israeli spy who is smuggling Jews out of Ethiopia.
Based on a true story. It actually was a operation done by the Israeli.
Inspired by a true story.
Yes.
I don't remember which one means they're free to do more.
So the outcome is true,
Yes.
but how they got there may not be true.
Yeah. At the very beginning of the movie, they were just simply smuggling people out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
It's from Ethiopia to Sudan.
Yes. And then they hatched this plan. They're going to buy a hotel that was built by the Italians in Sudan and smuggle people out through the sea.
Yep. Which you'd think would be pretty, easy. It sounds easy on paper to me.
Yeah.
You get the hotel, you get people to come there, you put them on a boat, you're already on a beach resort, and you send them off.
Yep.
And then they make you seem like it's way more difficult than what that is.
The logistics probably are difficult.
Yeah. But then they go through 2 years of operations with not a hiccup in sight.
I mean, there are hiccups throughout the movie.
So the first operation, there's a hiccup.
Yeah.
There's a military checkpoint, and what do?
They just crash right through it.
They just crash right through it. They don't even chase them.
Nope.
And the Colonel, Black Hans Landa,
Yes.
is onto them. I'm pretty sure it's you guys. You're the only white people in the country.
Yeah, he leads the local militia.
Right. He's like, you're the only white people in the country, and I'm pretty sure you guys are the ones doing it. I'll catch you guys one day.
Yeah, so the government is bought in on this whole thing, but the militia is not. So it's kind of this weird dynamic.
The government's only bought in on the hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously not in for the smuggling.
Right. And, one character, Sammy. There's a bunch of characters. I don't remember all their names.
I don't remember any of their names.
Yeah. I remember Captain America's name, Guy.
Yes.
And then his best friend, Sammy, who didn't want to go to begin with. He was that very reluctant.
Doctor.
Right. Bucky. He was very... He didn't want to go. And he was like, you know what? Let's not do this. He talks him into it. And after that first operation, they crashed through the checkpoint. He's like, hey, may have been random today, but now it won't be. Now they'll always be there.
But 2 years of no problems.
Right. And I'm like, wait, what happened with that 2 years?
Nothing.
Was that checkpoint
No
there?
deal.
Yeah. It bothered me.
Just a yearly check-in from the local militia.
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? And they're actually running a hotel. They have real guests.
Accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally. They planned on being deserted, and then real people actually showed up one time.
Apparently
and they're like,
Germans like to tour
Sudan,
yeah.
It wasn't just Germans either, though. A lot of Americans showed up and all kinds of people,
They said specifically that they were Germans.
The first group were all Germans, but after that, it looked like just a wide range of people.
Yeah.
Started showing up, and I was like, who?
All kinds of white people.
Well, the Japanese showed up at one point.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because they went, oh, konnichiwa.
yeah.
That was the only way I knew they were Japanese. Yep. So this movie, the whole plot is they want to get Ethiopian Jews out of Ethiopia.
Yes.
And the easiest way to do that was through Sudan. Or one way they saw doing it was through Sudan. Yep. And it was all done by the Israeli Air Force and I think it was the British Air Force was a part of it too.
I read on the actual operations, and it's mostly the Israeli Air Force and the Navy.
Right.
There's one operation that I think the American Air Force helped out on.
Wasn't Ben Kingsley's character British?
So you got to remember, the time at which this was happening, which is the late 70s.
Yeah.
He probably was British, but after Israel was set up, he probably moved to... He's probably a British Jew.
Gotcha. So this whole government agency, they look like they're all Jewish. The whole point is they're a Jewish...
I mean, it's Israel, so...
Yeah, I didn't know where it was being run out of, because they go to London at one point. At the beginning of the movie, when he gets pulled out of the country, he goes back to London.
Oh, yeah, he goes to London and then goes to Israel.
Right. It's very hard for me to follow who the hell was running this operation for the longest time. And because Chris Evans' character was American, who moved to Israel when he was an adult.
Yes.
So it was just very hard to follow, like, motives and stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't really keep. The tone jumped around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's trying to be funny, and then at times it's trying to be dark.
And a lot of
Other times it's trying to be really dark.
Yep. And there are a lot of times where it's like the hotel. It's like running a hotel.
Yeah.
It was a movie about running a hotel, and I couldn't stand it.
Yep.
Because they distract you from the fact they're doing operations. And they go through, like, diving exercises and Tai Chi, and then they go back to renting out rooms and, putting the numbers up of how many residents they've had since they've opened. Shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you get rid of all this movie could be an hour and a half. But now that
this is an astonishingly long movie.
It was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. I was like,
it was so slow.
A ridiculous amount of time.
It wanted to be Argo.
Yeah. I remember you saying that to me.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
What did you like about this movie? Like, what was probably your favorite point?
I don't know that I had one, man.
Okay. I think my favorite moment was trying to think. Oh, when they first get the residents to the hotel. So Guy Thomas, Chris Evans, he comes off like he's the smart man of the group. He's the head honcho, right?
Yes.
He's running the operation.
Doing pull-ups, push-ups. And
yeah, he's doing all that stuff. Doing
working
Captain
out
America
hard.
stuff, which I'll get into my theory here in a second. But I liked his way of thinking. Like, he sees an opportunity and he takes it.
Right.
And he's genuinely a great guy. Like, his whole thing is, I'm Jewish, I'm going to save my people from being exterminated. Because that's what the Ethiopian government was doing to the Jews. And Ethiopia was killing them off. And so he's like, I'm going to save my people. I'm never going to stop until I do it. And he doesn't care if he puts his life on the line for that.
Yeah, it's at whatever cost.
Right. So I liked his character a lot. And I liked that moment when you saw the penny drop in his head. Like,
It's just not good when he voluntarily puts everyone else at risk.
No.
You can risk your own life.
Right. He's vain about that.
Oh, yeah.
And his buddy Sammy brings that up a lot. And you're like, okay, Sammy's going to die. Because Sammy doesn't want to go on this trip. He doesn't want to do this mission. And he's always questioning his buddy.
He got hurt in the past on a mission that Chris Evans
He's Doctor Strange now.
Yes.
He's a surgeon who can't do surgery because his hand's all shaky.
Exactly.
And he's like, hey, man, I don't want to be here. Please just listen to me. We should play it safe.
Yeah.
And they never play it safe. But then nobody dies and nobody gets hurt. One SEAL died.
Yes.
One Navy SEAL died, but that was really it. Besides that,
unnamed on screen for 15 seconds.
Right.
Israeli Navy
gets
SEAL.
shot and then dies off screen.
Yes.
Which is just so. That's the only time the mission ever went bad.
Yep.
Was that one time they actually got the Ethiopians on the boat, and then the government shows up, shoots at the boats. The boats get away, and Chris Evans and Sammy are arrested.
Yes.
And then they walk out of the prison.
They try to explain it away that they were just running a nighttime diving operation.
Right. And he does a good job at that.
I guess.
He's like, hey, what are you guys doing? We're just running a nighttime diving class. What are you guys doing? Like, come on now. And he plays it off he plays it off well. He acts well, like he is just a hotel guy.
Yeah.
And then they go to jail. And Sammy's like talking about the operation pretty loudly.
Yeah.
And no one's listening.
Nope.
I guess. And then
they talk about how somebody's probably listening.
Right. And then the Ministry of Tourism comes and they get him out.
Yes.
They go, hey, why'd you guys arrest our good
politicians like
the hotel?
Yes, it's bringing in money.
Right. And he wasn't even a politician. He was a colonel who just wore like a suit and tie.
Yeah, you're right.
Everywhere he went.
Yeah, it was hard to keep track of all the people's names in this movie because one of the other members of the task force that's trying to free the Ethiopian Jews, she goes and she's trying to talk to Colonel
whatever.
Yeah. And I thought she was going to go talk to the militia leader.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't keep the names separate.
Because they're both colonels.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Black Hans Landa is one of the other colonels he's talking to.
There's a reason that you keep calling him that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to elaborate.
Okay, go ahead.
So, like Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds is widely known as one of the best movie villains of all time.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
Yes. Creates a lot of suspense, does certain things. This militia colonel does a lot of the exact same things because I don't think that they they really knew how to write a convincing villain.
Yeah. So they're just watching Glorious Bastards.
Yeah, there's a scene where he's talking to one of the waitresses at the hotel.
In Sudan. So she speaks
in Sudan.
Amharic.
Yeah, and so they're speaking another language, and the whole scene feels like that.
Right.
So that farmhouse scene.
So wait, they can't understand me, can they?
Right.
No. All right, speak to me in our language so they
Yes.
can't understand. Are they smuggling people?
Yeah.
It's very blatant about it.
Yeah.
It's like, tell them we're talking about food.
Yep.
And
there's other things as well. He pops up in all the right places.
At all the right times.
At all the right times. He knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only person that's onto them.
Right. But you don't know how he's onto them.
No, there's no context for any of it.
Yeah. The only thing that would have made him more Black Hans Lando would have been like, you're hiding Jews in the other room, aren't you?
Yes. If he would have just asserted.
Right.
He's a terrible guitar player.
Yeah, he's using a 5.56 round though. He's using an actual bullet.
Yeah.
As a pick.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, you monster? It's gonna scratch your shit up. Like,
he's not actually fretting anything. He's just got a lot of distortion going on. And he's just raking the strings over and over.
Oh, it's so bad.
And the scene's like 20-25 seconds long.
I got anxiety watching it.
Yes.
What did you least like?
I don't know. I feel like in a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, characters should be developed.
Right.
So Chris Evans in this movie has this problem where he's continuously risking other people's lives, for, whatever cause he feels like.
Right.
And they're supposedly there for like 2 years, and at no point does he do anything better.
No, it doesn't even feel like they've been there for 2 years.
No.
They never mention how long they've been there.
Nope.
There's a love going on between the blonde chick and Sammy.
Kind of, yeah.
You kind of see it at points. And at the very end, you see them like, she rests her head on his shoulders.
Yep.
Like, you guys have been out in the field for 2 years. This would have developed more over the course of 2 years.
Chris Evans finally gets the plug pulled on him, and they're like, we're done with this mission. And he finds out that there's more people to be saved, and so he does the exact same stuff, risks everyone's life again, and it pays off.
Yeah.
And
there's never any, like, loss.
I don't know. The hero's journey just doesn't mean anything when there's no cost to it.
No.
The only people to die in this movie were, like, the one Israeli Navy SEAL that we were talking about that spent 10 seconds on screen.
Yep.
And then some refugees at a camp.
Right. And done by Black Hans Lando.
Yes.
In a brutal fashion that you're like, okay, so I think we missed this part. So the way he gets all these Ethiopian Jews out is he uses another Ethiopian Jew as like your Harriet Tubman.
He's the one that's smuggling all these people.
Right, your Ethiopian.
He's taking the biggest risk.
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
And so Black Hans Lando finds out who this guy is. He finds out from a bunch of refugees, and then he kills all the refugees. Yep. And he finds Kabedi, whatever his name is, and he just goes and beats the shit out of him, I guess.
Yeah, he finally gets a name, and Chris Evans tries to pull, I think his name was Kabedi.
Yeah.
Tries to get him to leave, and then finally go to Israel. Mm-hmm. And Kabedi's like, no, I'm not doing that. He goes home, and the colonel's there waiting for him.
Yep.
And then, like, one scene later, Chris Evans shows up at his house.
Yep.
And they stabbed him.
They stabbed Kabedi before Chris Evans shows up. Yes. He's already been stabbed.
Yeah, Chris Evans did not stab him.
Right.
They had already stabbed him, beat him up, and then basically they said that they were able to bribe
the guard to leave.
The guard, and then they left.
Yeah, so when Chris Evans shows up, you're like, oh boy, here comes an ambush.
Yep. Nope.
It's because it's Sammy, Chris Evans.
I think that's it.
No, there's one other guy there. There's a third one.
Is it the dive instructor?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't remember his name.
The dive instructor / assassin.
Yeah. And he shows up because they're all assassins.
He's like the assassin, though.
Right. If there was one, it's him.
Yeah.
And so
the first time you see him, he's assassinating someone.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he shows up, when they show up, there's no ambush.
Nope.
That's what I was expecting the entire time. They even show shots from the windows of buildings nearby, and you're like, oh fuck, this is it. He's gonna get shot. Nothing happens.
Nah, man, there's still 25 minutes worth of movie left.
That would have been the prime time to have 25 minutes. With 25 minutes left, now would be the time for some action.
Yeah.
And there's none. The only action you got was when that one Navy SEAL died by the government in the middle of a smuggling operation.
Yeah.
And that's really it. So now what he's going to do with these last 400 Ethiopians is he's going to cargo plane them out using the CIA and the American military because they're there at their embassy.
Yes.
And he goes to one of his buddies at the embassy that he's met before and goes, hey, we need to get out. I need your help. The guy's like, I got a cargo plane. We'll get you out.
Yeah.
And so they go on their last day of the operation, and the colonel somehow finds out about it. And they don't ever say how he finds out about it. One of his little lackeys runs in and goes, hey, Colonel, we have an issue. And then he's like, all right, time to go. And they go straight to the airfield.
They could have spent 2 seconds having somebody radio in that, like, hey, they're leaving.
Right. Like,
and that would have given all the context needed.
All you need is a sentry there. Or you can show him. You can zoom out and see the guy standing there in the mountains.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, they're leaving.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's just better for the militia colonel to just show up.
To the place they're smuggling them out of.
Yes.
With no context. They've never been there before. They've never mentioned this airfield before.
He's just good, man.
He's a good Jew hunter. That's what they call it, Hans Landa.
Yeah.
And Inglourious Bastards. So, then they get them on the plane and they leave. And then
happily after.
Colonel Hans Landa shoots his gun up in the air. They land in Israel and the movie ends.
Yes.
And that's it.
2 hours and 10 or 20 minutes worth of movie for that.
What would you like to have made this movie better? I already said it. Just get rid of all that hotel bullshit. Like, yeah, we know there's guests there, you know?
I just wanted it to have a tone across the movie. Maybe if they could make it 25 minutes shorter. I don't care where they cut it from.
Right.
If they want to talk about, the hotel and all that stuff, it doesn't really matter to me. It's just, I don't want to go from, like, happy to dark. Happy, dark. It just
doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also have less characters and develop them.
Yeah, so this is what, 6?
It's the same 6 Underground problem. I'm going to keep equating everything to that.
Right.
Too many characters, you can't develop anyone.
Mm-hmm. Can't do what Marvel does.
No.
And they're just so...
They took 10, 20 years to do it.
That's true. Oh, no. Think about when the first Iron Man came out to the
What
first
year was
Avengers. 2008, 2004, 2012, I mean. So you got 4 years right there.
Yeah, you're right.
They did it pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just, this movie doesn't even give you the opportunity to do it. Because all your character development and who these characters are supposed to be is done in a meeting with this government agency on their alternate egos.
Yeah, and he goes and chases down all these different people. There's a good 10 minutes of the movie where he's just going and meeting them and be like, hey, we got a job to do.
Yeah, and they're all like, all right, sounds good. Yeah.
And it doesn't ever pay off.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do any of it.
You don't need any of them. You have about any 6 random people.
Yeah.
Because they act like you need a diving instructor for this hotel. But you could have said any guy that knows how to, like, teach them how to dive real quick.
Yeah.
And been like, all right, cool, you're diving. Because they don't use their skills later. The diving instructor, he only uses skills for one class for the hotel patrons that you know of.
There's a scene where he's like, yeah, now I actually have to go teach a diving class because these tourists showed up. That could have been the end of that scene. But no, we have to watch.
You have to watch the diving class.
Like 3 or 5 minutes of a diving class.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Like
get rid of that shit.
Turtles and all that.
Yeah. Get rid of it. It's a fucking waste. Sammy is the only one whose skills are used accurately. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
When the Navy SEAL gets shot, he's there on the scene, and he's like, you got to put pressure on the wound. You got to do this.
And Kabady as well.
Yeah, and Kabady, yeah. He's the only one whose skills get used.
Yeah.
Besides that, he's useless. I mean, they're all useless. And the entire time, you think Sammy's going to die, or you think Guy Thomas is going to die. Because he has a wife and kid back home.
Yes.
Wherever he's from.
And I don't... okay, so he's got marriage problems.
Yep.
When this whole thing starts.
It's brought up once.
Yeah, his wife is going to leave him, and his kid...
She's already left.
You're right.
Yeah.
And his kid is pissed because he never sees his dad.
Right.
Which, you're like, okay.
It's a daughter.
You're right. My bad.
8 years old, little girl. She never
right.
see her dad. And they show you that because she draws a picture of her family, and the dad is not there.
I remember now.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, magically everything's fine.
Right. They're like, hey,
we got Sudan for 2 years, but everything's cool now.
We got this from your wife. And I'm like, is it his wife still? It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And he opens it up at the very end of the movie, and it's a painting or a picture his little girl drew of their family. And guess what? The dad's in it now. Like, did the daughter sit on that for 2 years?
Yeah.
Like, what was the tipping point?
And it's not like they were Skyping every day. It's in like 1978 or something like that.
Right. It's so bad. It's so much wasted just moments in this movie. I give this movie a 4 out of 10.
I feel like you're being really nice.
It wasn't that bad, though. It had no payoff to it at the end.
It was fine enough to watch, but why watch it? That's kind of where I'm sitting at.
I don't know.
I'm going 3 out of 10.
I never mentioned my theory.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not like my theory?
No.
I liked it. So Chris Evans acts like he is Captain America. Like, he has the same character to me, just minus superpowers.
Yeah.
And I stand by. This is after Endgame, and when he goes back in time, and one of his missions is saving Ethiopian Jews. Just kept, because he's working out all the time. He's just the same.
For no reason.
And he's the same guy. He's just the same guy as Captain America.
Except for worse decision making. Not a team leader. Kind of a scummy dad.
He could be a scummy dad. We don't know. The
Whatever.
guy's 100 years old.
I choose to not think of Captain America like that.
Well, you are now. Or at least you're thinking it.
Nope.
So that's all I have in Red Sea Diving Resort. You got anything else?
Nope. 3 out of 10.
All right, 4 out of 10 from this guy.
If you've watched everything else on Netflix, you can watch this movie.
Yeah, other than that, I would not recommend it.
No.
It's not worth the watch. It's not the worst movie out there. It's not the best. It's not even good. It's just...
If you just need to pass some time.
Yeah. If you want to pass 2.5 hours, I can think of better ways to do it.
Yep.
But this is not one of them. Movies watched this week. I have not watched very many movies. I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo. And I've been playing Animal Crossing whenever I get the chance.
So I watched the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Okay.
If you like Kevin Smith movies or you like Jay and Silent Bob, I highly recommend watching this movie.
Okay.
And I think that you specifically should because
I'm a comic book nerd.
Yes.
I could make a podcast solely on comic books.
I'm sure.
But it would be so oversaturated.
And I also watched The Campaign.
I've talked about it last week, didn't I?
I know, yeah. That's why I watched it.
You did watch it? What'd you think?
It had some really funny parts.
Was it your first time watching it?
Yes. It was a weird movie.
Yeah, I like it though.
Yeah.
It's funny. Oh, I did watch some Tiger King.
I'm on episode 2.
So bad.
Yeah. It is
I think I'm only
man.
watching it for the meme culture.
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason I was even interested in it. Because if I would have watched the first episode without any of the memes around, I would not be interested in this show.
Right. Me and Naomi watched a TV show. We watched all the first season. She watched most of it. I only watched some, called 100 Humans or 100 Questions or some shit like that. So basically, it's like a thing. They have 100 people and they test a bunch of experiments on them. It's actually pretty interesting. So they test a lot of like social experiments and just a bunch of different questions. I think it's called 100 Humans. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, 100 Humans, life's questions answered, and it's all kinds of weird shit. Like, does dancing mean you have a higher sperm potency, or uniforms? And then
you watch an entire season of that.
Yeah, and they go through like different questions throughout the time, and you say the same 100 humans, and they're all dressed the same. They're not even given names. They're just human 1, human 2, whatever. And they go through all kinds of stuff, like how gender stuff works, and they bring in like real scientists to talk about it afterwards.
Interesting.
I'd watch it. I watch one episode and tell me what you think.
Okay.
I think you and Tina would get a kick out of it. And I haven't watched anything else this week. I have done nothing but home construction and sitting on my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing else to do.
Pretty much.
So we mentioned it last week. We do have a charity going on through our Patreon right now. Link will be down in the description. It's going to go towards relief for coronavirus victims and people affected by it. Good shout out to a big shout out to our new host and sponsor, Anchor. You probably heard that here at the beginning, but yeah, they're our new hosts, and so now we're out there even more. We're only out there on Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher. And currently we're on a bunch of them: Radio Public, Overcast, Breaker, TuneIn, Google. So that's big. That was big for us this week.
Yeah.
I couldn't even sleep the other day when I found out. And then, as we said earlier, next week's episode will be Coffee and Kareem. I'm excited. You're excited.
I am as well.
I think this is one of those we should probably watch together.
You think so?
Yeah.
We'll try to find some time to do it.
Yeah, I think we're better to find some time. We don't even work anymore. I got plenty of time.
I still work.
I don't work. I'm not working anymore, so I got plenty of time. And other than that, please leave a like, follow, sub, and show us some love. Actually, we did get some feedback last week from someone on the YouTubes.
Interesting.
It's the same person it always is. Let me find it here real quick. So, 33rd Street Knits podcast got back to us about last week's. She believes the message from last week's movie, so War Machine, was hubris doesn't work on a personal or national level. And that was their point, was hubris doesn't work. So, and Colonel, yeah, it fits.
I'd say that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I didn't read it that way at all. I just read it as a really bad movie that wasn't worth it. And that the scenes with the wife were cringy.
Yes, absolutely.
So we agree on that one. So who's on 33rd Street's podcast? It's your sister-in-law, right?
It is.
Yeah, so, yep, we agree with you on all that. Apt assessment.
Yes.
You got anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
All right, well, that's it from me and James today. See you all next week for some Kareem and coffee. Or coffee and Kareem. Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.